That was probably September, October and November 1943. That's it. That's my mother, and my sister Ruth. Always somebody on the top floor. That looked like Anna. She usually washed her hair and covered up like that. That spot, you can see why. That girl's name was Helen, but I can't remember her last name. That was my heartthrob at the time. My dad, Mom. House that we lived there in was owned by the Dorsey family. We lived downstairs. They lived up. There's those curtains again that had to be washed every week and stretched out on pins. I think I was at Satchers Point, Rhode Island, on the rifle range at this time. Two drunken sailors. My mother was death against drinking. That's Peggy Kovacs. That's Ruth's daughter. I believe that's when we went to the church and I was the godfather. There on the left, it looks like cousin Ed Dorsey, Uncle Paul's son. It is. And that's Aunt Margaret. I don't know, that's Ruth Kovacs, my mother. There's Uncle Paul, Aunt Ida, Uncle Paul's wife. Uncle Paul ended up vice president of the Admiral Corporation, the gas stove division. And notice the bathing suits, men had to wear tops. It was a law. There's Dad bouncing Ruth. This is back in the backwards. The film, it's got to be in the late 30s. Ruth's probably 2 or 3 years old, so it'd be 38 or 39. My father didn't go in the water too much. Yeah, there's Ruth. She's just little. I guess we're going to have another supper or dinner. Aunt Ann's cleaning things on her dress. Well, that's a dead turkey, but it looks cooked. They used to cook 2 turkeys, one downstairs at my mother's stove and one upstairs with the aunts. My grandmother and grandfather, of course, lived there when I was a little kid. Aunt Marg showing my sister Ruth how to baste a turkey. And watch this, she'll burn her hand, and I think this is the last time she basted a turkey. They didn't have self-basting in those days. And put the gravy on it. Aunt Margaret, she was always in charge of the turkeys. My mother was in charge of the buns and the pies. I was in charge of mashing potatoes. I don't know whether that's me or not. No. I guess I wasn't making the gravy. Uncle Paul Dorsey. Good old boy. He and Dad were in France together. Uncle Paul lied his age. I think he was 16 when he got into the National Guard, and that's cousin Edward Dorsey. He was in the Air Corps during the war. B-29s. I think he was a gunner or something. He crashed on Saipan and broke his wrist. Got sent home. Crashed into the ocean. Making their landing. That's me on the right. Uncle Ed behind the chair and my sister. There's Jack Keenan and Uncle Ed. Aunt Ida, Ed Dorsey next to her son. Aunt Margaret, she could eat. Look like Aunt Ann. There's my mother. No, there's Aunt Ann and Aunt Margaret. Looks like we're passing dessert here. My dad. Those are homemade pumpkin pies. Croquet was a lot of fun. Aunt Marg did not smoke, but she was a cut-up. Do most anything for a laugh. You know, she's a principal of a grammar school. And then with her cigarettes, I think that's Ruth Kovacs. The suspenders belong to Ed Dorsey, I'm sure. My dad in the background. Again, this is in the backyard at Harmony Street in Bridgeport. Sister Ruth's sandbox. That apple tree, that's my mother's cousin, Clara Boaz. Her name was Duff. And Ray Boaz, her husband, he was a chief in the Navy during the First World War. Jack Kahn next to my father and sister, Ruth Keenan, Aunt Ann in the back on the blue sweater. Looked like me in a chair on the right. Well, that's when they had 48 stars, anyway. There's Ray Boaz, chief yeoman. He was a salesman. Very clever guy. That's Clara, my mother's first cousin. And Edna. Another Memorial Day, I guess. Airplane. Look at the white walls on that car in the back. Playing croquet again. Looks like Ruth picked some flowers. And it's me. I can't remember. I think we were going to Vermont, to Lake Willoughby. Ruth slowed it down. And Unc with his African hat, I guess, safari hat. I took it away from him. And there's my boy, flying saucer hat. Yeah, that's where it was happening. Uncle Ed must have been going with us. This is the bottom of the lake, south end. And there's, maybe you get a sight of Mount Pisgah and Mount Hor. It's from the top of one of the mountains, I've forgotten. Maybe there'll be a sign. I remember the day. Here we are at the lake. That's probably 1938. You think Ruth is still there, maybe? Dad dunking her. my mother, boy, that's